Hey guys, so I'm Matt Luongo. I'm the founder of Thesis. We are a production studio in the cryptocurrency space. I sometimes struggle to say cryptocurrency space. I really hate to say the blockchain space. We try to focus on projects that are actually going to have a meaningful impact in the world. Um, so for me, a meaningful impact is projects that can help empower individuals and sort of bring the locus of control from, sort of corporate surveillance and maybe other people back to where I actually think the power should be, which is with individuals. So a little bit about us. We don't talk much about the studio publicly, but I thought I would explain kind of our brand soup briefly and then get into the big stuff. So we started by launching Fold App back in 2014. It's very much a Bitcoin 1.0 company. It was our introduction to the cryptocurrency space. And since then, it has spun out into its own thing that's more focused on earning Bitcoin. So you guys will probably see that brand bouncing around. But more relevant to Zcash recently is a project we started in 2017, which is Keep. So the basic idea behind Keep is that we were building a confidentiality layer for Ethereum. So I say confidentiality because when I say privacy, people immediately think Zcash. That's actually what I get. They're like, oh, like Zcash? No, not quite like Zcash. It's focused on smart contract developers who want to be able to use people's social security numbers or custody, like other private information, without actually exposing them on a public blockchain, which would obviously be terrible. So we've been working on Keep since 2017, and it's a development platform, which is why it's not really about end users. But we did decide to launch the first app atop Keep, and this is where it starts getting relevant to the Zcash folks, which is TBTC. So TBTC is a cross-chain Bitcoin to Ethereum bridge. We've done this in what I believe is the most robust way possible without a Bitcoin soft fork. We use an SPV client to take and validate Bitcoin headers on Ethereum. And then we use a combination of cryptography and economics to ensure that on the Ethereum side, there's a token minted called TBTC that's backed one-to-one by Bitcoin. And our goal is not just to expose Bitcoin on Ethereum, which is pretty easy to do if you're Coinbase or some other Bitcoin bank. Our goal is to bring the hard money and censorship resistant aspects of Bitcoin that people care about to Ethereum, and then extend it with the power of Ethereum smart contracts. So today, that means, I'm sure I have other slides. Oh, here you go. Here's a slide. So today, that means DeFi, right? That's the thing that people are excited about in the Ethereum space. It's the current narrative. The fact is you'll be able to use a project like this to take USD loans out against your Bitcoin collateral, to do all sorts of like trading, lending, and earning. And DeFi is interesting, but for me, there are deeper things that I'm a lot more interested in, namely actually protecting my privacy. So I'm a big Bitcoin fan. I think you guys will hear me talk about it a lot. It's usually my asset of choice, but it's not my technology of choice. I think at the Zcash project, obviously, the benefit of launching as a fork of Bitcoin was that exchanges could support easily. There was a lot of tooling that exists, but I think now we're seeing the edges of that and where that holds you back. So Bitcoin in its pursuit of stability has made it very difficult for developers. So, and then the other thing, this is a total abuse of our logo that again, our head of design would hate. So I don't think we're just bringing these two chains together. I actually think there's an opportunity to sort of multiply who else can use Ethereum. Well, there are 10x more Bitcoin users than there are Ethereum users. Same for liquidity and most of the things you would care about in the DeFi space. But where's Zcash? So there's been a lot of work done on privacy preserving techniques on Ethereum. We've done some of those. Ours have focused on multi-party computation. It's mostly applied cryptography. We aren't spinning up entirely new paradigms like the ECC, but it's you know, it's frankly, it's pretty shallow. I think probably the project that I'm most interested in to concretely use soon is Tornado Cash. And it's just got a much weaker security model than a full system like Zcash. So, you know, there are a couple of questions here. I think one is obviously we want to bring Zcash into this entire cross-chain system that we're building. But exactly how is really important. So luckily Nathan set me up for all of this part, which is what could something that I'll call tZEC, though it could have a lot of other names. What could tZEC actually look like? So V1, I think, and this is what our company is laboring under, is this idea of bringing Zcash to DeFi. So, you know, Zcash, Zcash is an asset. It can be brought to DeFi. DeFi will get more collateral. But if we're excited about censorship resistance and privacy, it's you know, it's a good first step. But probably it would start with just transparent addresses. I think it's very important that any T address work have a straightforward upgrade path to the shielded pool, so we're not making it more difficult for folks to move over. And so I think it's very important for there to shortly after be a V2, which is shielded ZEC on DeFi. But both of these things for me are table stakes. We launched the V1 of this with Bitcoin. The first phase of the launch was yesterday. And you guys will see if you talk to me in the next 2 weeks, as we go through the next few phases, I'll get darker and darker circles under my eyes. And V2 will be great. It's obviously an improvement. You don't want to have to immediately give up your privacy to go cross-chain. But I'm the most interested in V3, and I don't have I didn't have time for any diagrams, but I want you guys to think about this. So rather than bringing Zcash to all of these other places, to DeFi, to Bitcoin, how can we bring DeFi onto Zcash? So I've talked a little bit about user-defined assets on Zcash, but my grand goal that I'd like to see for a system like tZEC is Ethereum, Cosmos, Polkadot, all of these chains to bring their assets to Zcash, and that's where they can actually privately be transacted. So if this is done well, this is an opportunity to grow the anonymity pool across assets. This is an opportunity to support both Zcash, the technology, and also Zeek, the asset. And I'm quite excited about it. So this is where I stopped being able to make slides, and I'm just going to have to talk. So progress so far. At the beginning, you know, we've already spoken a little bit about Fly Client. Fly Client is a huge improvement to what we've had to do in TBTC. So in TBTC, there's this very expensive validation process where we're trying to keep track of the Bitcoin chain. And there are two issues. So one is just that it's expensive. And then the other is that it's just a lower security threshold because of that expense. So Fly Client is going to let us do something similar on tZEC, but much more efficiently. It's going to make it much easier for folks to move ZEC onto Ethereum because they won't bear the cost of maintaining the relay themselves. It can be socialized quite a bit. And so I'm very excited about that. And the other component that has already been completed is a Blake 2B EIP on Ethereum. So there's now a pre-compile on Ethereum to help validate Zcash headers. So that's great work that's been done so far, but I'd call that maybe V0. And so, you know, my call to action for you guys for V1 is I'm very interested in community feedback. Are there places that you want to use your ZEC? I want to make sure that as we build this product out, that we know that people are actually going to use it. Otherwise, you know, what's the point? But as we move through V2 and eventually to V3, I guess my call to action was a little bit different. What could we do if we could bring all crypto assets onto Zcash? What does that change about the entire space and about the narrative of Zcash? So anyway, a little bit of a meandering talk to give you guys an update there.
That was
Very
great.
short.
That was
Yeah,
great, Matt.
I'm on Twitter. You can shoot me an email. I'm hoping there are lots of questions, and if there's at some point a Zcash tZEC whiteboarding session, that would be very appreciated.